By now, everyone has heard about John Piper's son, Abraham Piper, who is using his social media platform to debunk Christianity and the truth of the Bible. This video isn't about Abraham. He's doing a great job of getting plenty of attention on his own, as well as other YouTubers that are feeding the frenzy, giving him the publicity that he's looking for. And it may seem like I'm doing the same, but my video is more for the parent of a prodigal. My heart is simply broken for John Piper right now. And if you have kids who are running in rebellion, my heart breaks for you as well. See, my wife and I have been there. And there are 3 things that we learned. One of the first things that we learned was that having a prodigal child can happen to any one of us. There's probably nothing more devastating to a parent than to raise a child in the church and then watch them turn their back on everything that you've taught them and self-destruct. In one of Piper's videos, he asks, "You want to know one of the silliest things about being raised devoutly evangelical?" His answer, that children are expected to read the Bible. Listen, don't be so proud as to say that I'm going to raise my kids differently, and they won't turn out that way. I said that for years. There's no guarantee that says if we raise our kids right, that if they run, they will return. We have Proverbs 22:6, but that's not a promise. The Proverbs are not promises. The Proverbs teach something that happens most of the time, but not all the time. There is no guarantee, and it can happen to any one of us. And it did. This is how my wife explains it. We were caught off guard by this unexpected rebellion. We didn't think it was going to happen to us because we raised them in a Christian home and we had prayed against all the things we didn't want to see happen. So it really rocked my faith when it did happen. I was confused, hurt, and disappointed, not only with my children but with God. Then there was the challenge in our marriage because we were on the same page with discipline. There was the challenge with family. I felt like I had no family. They thought that we were being too strict. So for me, it was a very lonely time. Then there was the church. And the church didn't really know how to help or didn't ask. And we pretty much kept to ourselves simply out of shame. That's what happened to us. We said it'll never happen, and then it did happen. And it took us a long time to realize and accept the fact that parents are not always at fault. I mean, everywhere young people turn, the culture is making attacks on them. The values that we teach them in the church are being slaughtered in the educational system. The music is influencing them. The movies that they watch and everything else is affecting their thinking and influencing their behavior, and sometimes they just give up and give in. Now, the second thing we learned is that the best way to ruin a relationship is to play fair. John Piper has a video where he explains his son's first rebellion and the recommendation from the church leaders to excommunicate him when he was 19. Can you imagine being a pastor of a church and having your son excommunicated? 4 years later, thank God, he returned to the church. And Abraham puts it this way: God made it possible for me to love Jesus after reading the book of Romans one day. Now we know that he has since walked away again, but remember, there is no guarantee. I'm not sure about you, but we were rescuers. We had countless sleepless nights where we went cruising through town looking for our kids. You name it, we did it. But that wasn't the answer. You see, once we realized that sometimes you have to hit bottom before you look up, we stopped enabling the behavior and we watched 3 of our boys lose relationships, jobs, cars, houses, college, bankruptcy, jail time. You know, the bottom can be pretty deep for some, and it was killing us as parents not to rescue them. You know, if you play fair, you're going to lose your child forever. Paul said to the church at Rome, "Repay no one evil for evil. As much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." That means you do need to practice tough love, but you also need to give back better than what you were given. Your kids need to know that your love for them is unconditional. They have to know that your love and acceptance for them is not based on good grades, athletic achievement, personal popularity, or perfect conduct. You see, long after their bad choices, their poor decisions, and wrong moves are in the past, that teenager is going to remember one thing: that when I needed mom and dad the most, they stood by me. And they showed me they loved me no matter what. I love what my wife said here. She said that even though we didn't agree with what they were doing and how they were living, I feel like they knew that we loved them and that we were there for them and willing and ready to help if they wanted. We weren't willing to compromise our life for the bad choices they were making. And it wasn't that we didn't accept them, but we weren't going to accept their behavior, their drug use, and be an enabler, and that was very hard. Having to watch them go through legal trouble, get arrested for their choices was hard, but we never once disowned them or stopped loving them, caring about them, or praying for them. And here's lesson number 3. Don't ever give up. When you look in the story of the prodigal, you find the father having compassion on his son. You know, today our kids are doing great. They're not all in church serving the Lord, but the relationship has been restored, and I can confidently say that they are 3 hardworking, responsible adults, and I am very, very proud of each one of them. I'm also proud of my 2 little girls as well. So Mom and Dad, listen to me. Leave the door open. Don't burn the bridge. One day they'll come to their senses. They'll wake up. Their heart will change. You just keep praying for them. You keep believing in them, and don't you ever, ever give up on your kids. God bless.